Kia ora and welcome everyone to another episode of 9 Minute Big Life Mindset. Today, you're going to hear about how I smashed my face in and broke my nose, the carnage I caused at the hospital a few weeks later, and why I asked for it to be reset, but with no painkillers or anesthesia. Alright, so the vast majorities of my injuries with my surgeries and broken bones are a result of stupidity or contact sport. But on this occasion, I'm pretty good. You see, a mate and I were set to go and do a fast or go without food for 3 days, which I felt really comfortable doing as I'd recently done one that was over 100 hours, which I might actually share in another podcast. Anyway, the kids are at Nana's one night, so Debbie and I go to a party and I'm the sober driver. We get home and I sleep in the kids' room so that she can enjoy that alcohol-induced comatose kind of deep sleep. In the middle of the night, I get up to go to the toilet. I take 2 steps, then realise I'm going to black out because I'm feeling really lightheaded, partly from the no food and partly because I've always had low blood pressure, which, once again, story for another day. Anywho, I register that I'm going to black out and I try to drop my weight straight downwards. Unfortunately, I faint before I can take any action and I fall forwards. And the thing that breaks the momentum of my fall is when my face smacks into this timber bookshelf that doesn't budge an inch. I mean, this thing may as well have been made from steel. The impact of hitting the bookshelf is so strong, it actually rips me out of my fainting episode before I slowly slump to the ground. As I'm lying there in the hallway, I remember thinking, oh my God, that is so painful. But with all the kids away for the night, Deb's asleep at one end of the house and my mum asleep at the other, I realise no one's going to come and save me. The worst part though is that I've actually still got to go to the toilet. So I scrape myself off the floor and I make my way there with blood pouring out everywhere. I'm dizzy and I'm disoriented and it does nothing to help with my aim at the toilet either. When I see my face in the mirror, it looks exactly like it feels. It's just horrible. There's a couple of grazes on my face, but there's no doubting that I've broken it. I also have this crazy headache to go with it, which I'm kind of just assuming is from the free fall and the sudden stop on the way down. I eventually get my shit together. I have breakfast, because if you've ever been to A&E on Wellington on a weekend, man, you know you're in there for hours. And then I head into the hospital, only to be told that they can't actually reset it because of how much it had swollen. Probably fishing for sympathy here, but I take some photos and send them to some friends overseas. When my mates see photos of my face, it's a mixture of horror and laughter, and I swear it takes me longer to recover from the actual injury than it does from the mocking that I cop from these guys. Fast forward 2 weeks, and it's the day before the specialist is going to reset it. Now, being a good guy, I go to an old boss's farewell drinks at work. Being an absolute idiot, however, I make the unwise decision to stay longer than I should have. The following morning, I have this monster hangover and it feels like a lot of the alcohol is still sitting in my stomach. I'm suffering that best kind of misery. It's in the pit of my stomach, it's all I can think of. And better still, it's self-inflicted. I had to catch an Uber to the hospital, which I'd had to do anyway. And then I find my way to the ear, nose and throat ward. And then I join this large number of people in the waiting area. The previous night's antics, the heat in the hospital, which is stifling, and the suffocating face mask are turning my stomach upside down. So I decide to power chuck and see if I can get whatever's left in my stomach out. I head off to the toilet, which happens to be right by the nurse's station, and I close the door behind me. I'm there for a few seconds with my finger pushing that dangly bit in the back of my throat, and then all of a sudden my mouth erupts like a volcano. So much of it comes out, and so quickly that instead of going into the toilet, it pretty much goes everywhere else. The walls, the toilet cistern, the floor, everywhere. It was a bloody disaster. Added to that, I'm trying to do it quietly so I don't alarm the nurses who I can hear talking outside. I kid you not, it was a shambles. I clean the place up so that it's spotless, because really, no one else should have to deal with that, and then I make my way back to the waiting area. I take my seat, take a few deep breaths, and I feel 100% better than before. Not even 2 minutes later though, and I hear my name being called out. And I'm like, what? Already? And then I'm sitting there thinking, man, do you know what I've just endured back in that toilet? I steel myself and I'm like, all right, let's do this. I walk in and I'm chatting away with the specialist, but because some of my headspace is still back in that toilet cubicle wondering what the hell just happened, I swear I can hear him saying, blah, 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 and it's just not registering at all. He does talk me through the process though, I know that much, and we get down to the business of resetting my nose. Before we do though, I ask him if I can do it without the painkillers or anesthesia. He's completely taken back by this request because nobody's ever asked him for that, and so he asks again if I'm sure, to which I obviously tell him that I am. Now here's the thing. I don't want this to be misunderstood as me trying to be a hero, because I definitely wasn't. The reason I wanted to do it without painkillers is because unless you're into BDSM or the like, there are very few opportunities in life to be in an environment where you can have this strong, controlled, and yet carefully managed pain. You know, I'll obviously never get the chance to experience childbirth, which I'd happily jump at, by the way. So an opportunity like this was just too good to pass up. He lies me down on the table, and as I'm holding my phone to, record the moment for posterity, he slowly resets my nose back into position. I'd actually imagined, or I'd actually thought it was going to be one of those knocking it in kind of situations, but actually, you could not imagine more tender hands as he broke the healing that had occurred over the last few weeks. But, despite this, the pain was intense. Intense, and yet embarrassingly minuscule when I compare it to, say, what Debbie endured giving birth to our kids. Do what you can in life, right? Awesome, folks. Thanks everyone again for joining me. There's a link in the show notes if you want to see a 2-minute video of what I've just described. The nose being rebroken, that is, not that toilet debacle. And it's definitely best watched with the sound up. Either way, remember to click follow or subscribe on this podcast. And if you think anyone else might enjoy them, then please do share. Lastly, though, my challenge to you today is to do something, anything that's outside of your comfort zone. You could drink a different flavored coffee, you could say hi to a stranger, you could start a business, whatever, and enjoy the growth that comes with it. Because straight up, you'll be amazed at the positive changes that come with it. So get out there, folks, be uncomfortable, and grow.